It's me, Manic Mark. Going to just do one of these going outside videos. It's not easy to get to the freeway, and I've never understood it, but people like to live right on the freeway. If they could just build a house anywhere they wanted, they would probably build it with a driveway that exited right onto the freeway. I don't understand that, but I didn't even notice the motorcycle gang that lived across the street from me. I rehabbed a house in a pretty rough neighborhood. Well, not now. Property prices are in the dump, along with everything else in this country. Jeep Wrangler YJ. Horrible carburation system that Jeep put into this, Chrysler Jeep put into this system, this vehicle to try to meet emission standards of the day. It just, you know, within in 6 months, the O-rings on the rocker cover were leaking air, and it was horrible. It was just horrible. I struggled with that carburetor for years until I put a Holly carburetor on it and got rid of all that stuff. Well, this is a long story which I could tell you on the way. So I bought a new carburetor and I put it on and disconnected the vacuum, you know, the emission lines. Well, years later, the government imposes an emissions program in our area. Total bullshit. People that can repair their cars, can afford to take their cars to a garage, are going to have cars that are going to pass this thing. But everybody else is going to be people that work on their own vehicles because they can't afford to do anything else, or drive a car that isn't 100% efficient because it's what they have. So if your car doesn't pass, you've got to take it to a dealership. Well, right there, you're screwed. The little guy's screwed. So I take it to a garage. Now, there's a loophole, right? Because the government's never there to help you. Nothing they do is there to help you. It's to take something from somebody. This was not supposed to be a fun. Might have to cut all that out. I don't know, right? But there's a loophole. It's a $250 loophole. You have to spend a minimum of $250, and if it doesn't pass, $250 for an effing oil change, you know, or to put the ignition wires on. I could have a bill showing that I paid $250 to try to improve the vehicle. So I would go in and it would fail, and then I would have to go sit in the room so the little bureaucrat could abuse me for 15 minutes and tell me how horrible I was. And well, after about 6 years of this, they're keeping a database, right? So they complain. They tell me that I should go back to the garage that worked on my vehicle and tell them that they need to get the proper equipment and do this job right. They told me this. Like, I'm just a person, right? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm not the jackbooted thug government. That's just ridiculous, right? But now I know that they're pissed and they're keeping a database, right? So every year, but I try to improve things with the carburetor I've got to try to get it to run as efficiently as possible, because putting everything back the way it is impossible. It's just not going to happen because it was a stupid system to begin with. But imagine me trying to tell their whole program is bullshit, and that, you know, I've done the best I can with this vehicle to keep it running. No, it's not going to happen. I know I'm going to be in big trouble, but I can sense I'm going to be in big trouble anyway. So the next time I got to go through this, I go into the room and I sit there, and the guy says, well, I got to go look at the engine. I'm like, oh, shit. We open the hood and he points at the fuel pump and he looks at me and says, well, I hope, you know, the service station you took this to changed your O2 sensor. And right then and there, I knew that this guy was full of shit. I don't know what thought he was looking at. So anyway, but then I thought, man, I have to do something to get this vehicle to pass. But whatever I do is still probably not going to be right. Well, I figure if it passes, it's okay. But nonetheless, I've changed, you know, the emissions setup on this vehicle, and it's making me nervous because, like, what I'm saying is, after I put the new carburetor on, then I think there were some kind of laws passed about changing, you know, So, I've been nervous all along, but I've been honestly trying to get this thing to run the way it is without, going back to the original stupid carburetor, which never worked because of the way it was designed to meet emission standards. So what I do is I spend over $1,300 and hours and hours, all winter I work on it. I buy a throttle body kit. So I spend probably I found a bunch of other things I needed to do. I spent all winter working on putting the throttle body in and working on the exhaust system. I had to weld that up, and working on the parking brake and all sorts of things. So then you got to tear your whole wiring harness out to do this, and it's a big job. I spent all winter, so I take the Jeep in. I had to go to the courthouse and get a temporary tag so that I could drive it in. So I get there, and I'm nervous about it, and I have to go in. First, I can't even just pull up. I got to go into the little room, the interrogation room. What happens if it fails? She goes, well, you could if you spent $250 on it, you have receipts for that. I go, I've got receipts for over $1,300. She looks at me and smiles and said, well, as long as they're not more than a month old. I just about lost it. Passed with flying colors. So the next year they cancel the whole program, right? Well, the thing of it is that the Jeep runs a whole lot better now than it did. So it wasn't like it was money. It was running fine with the carburetor on it, but the performance there's much more power to the engine now, and I'm sure gas mileage is better, and that's all fine and good, but I had the time and the money to do all this bullshit. And I was forced to do something by the government, Just they've got their hand in everything, just everything. And I don't know why people keep begging for more.
Your children and your children's children.
But water and air pollution are killing us anyway.
Well, that could be, but I don't agree that we should just sit back, swallow some acid, and say, well, man, pollution's going to kill us anyway. This time the whole country is worried about pollution, and things are being done about it all the time. How much are we doing about it if all we do is complain and swallow a drug? Not much better than bad people doing bad things about our water and air. This world's in bad shape, but it's the world that your generation is going to have to run in the next 10 to 30 years. So what kind of preparation is LSD, STP, DMT, peyote, mescaline, or marijuana for what you're going to have to do to straighten it out?